Plant a tree for your tomorrow. It's your tree that clears the air. Plant a tree, trees for America. Plant a tree today for all the world to share.
11 wins, and 11 wins. If you're looking at 2011 through 2013, that's what you'll find for the Stanford in terms of their total number of victories for those 3 seasons. And David Shaw deserves a lot of credit for that as Stanford head coach. So last season, when they went 8-5, on one hand you might be saying, what in the hell happened? I mean, it's a team that gets double digits in victories, no problem. But last season, they definitely had some injuries to overcome and also, too, a lot of bodies to replace. And they found out that the Pac-12 got a little bit tougher from top to bottom. At one point, they were staring at 5-5 down the barrel. But the Cardinals played their best ball down the stretch, blowing out their hated rivals from Cal and doing the same to UCLA, and by the way, preventing the Bruins from going to the Pac-12 championship game in the process. Stanford, entering their bowl game, knew that they were going to face a good offense in Maryland as they played their bowl game in Cal at the Santa Clara Stadium where the 49ers play, and no problem. Stanford ended up winning that game and winning it easily. So the Cardinals at least closed out the 2014 season on a high note, and that might lead to some momentum entering the 2015 season. Offensively, that should definitely be the case because Stanford discovered something toward the end of last season. They've got something special in Christian McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey didn't get very many touches the first 9 games at running back, but boy, did that change the last 4 games. He got more action, not only in the I formation, but also, too, they lined him up in the slot, and they found out that McCaffrey is even more dangerous when you put him in the open field. An extremely fast running back, not very big. In fact, he's kind of small according to running back standards. And one thing that will help him this year is the fact that he's bulked up a little bit. Hit the weight room pretty hard during the offseason, and now he's up to about 205 pounds. So that really should help in the durability factor because he's going to get hit quite a bit. But again, McCaffrey, very fast, very quick, very dangerous in the open field. You have him along with another good running back in Raymond Wright. I say he's good because he's a touchdown machine. Double digits in TD a year ago for the Stanford running back. You'll have Wright. We'll see how his rushing total does. Last season had just 600 yards, and I think that'll depend on the amount of touches he gets and ball control as well. And Barry Sanders, the son of the legend Barry Sanders from Oklahoma State and Detroit Lions fame, back for his senior year. And Kevin Hogan, he's back as well. One of the most experienced quarterbacks you'll find. 3rd year at QB. Last season had a modest 2014 with 18 touchdowns. Also had just 8 picks. But we'll see if this is the year where Hogan can throw for at least 3,000 yards. He has yet to do so in his career. Last season had 2,700 through the air. He's not anything real special as far as what we've seen so far, but he's not a terrible quarterback either. I would say he's an adequate QB for the Cardinals. It would really help Hogan if he had Ty Montgomery back. Montgomery was the all-everything. The guy did everything but the windows. As last season, you can hand the ball off to him, you can throw it to him. But in my opinion, Ty Montgomery was his most dangerous on special teams, returning kicks, several for touchdowns in his career, and All-American on special teams. Montgomery's going to be missed. So we'll see how Devin Cajuste handles the role as the primary guy at receiver at 6'4", a tall target naturally for Hogan to throw at, and you'll have the experience of Michael Rector back at another receiver. Now, tight end, a guy that really came on strong late in 2014 was Austin Hooper. And Hooper, terrific hands for a tight end. He comes back, and on the offensive line, you'll have some experience there. Kyle Murphy, an All-American, you'll have him back, but you will miss the services of Andrus Peat. He's going to be a big loss for them. Stanford, if they hope to do better than 8-5, red zone scoring has got to be an area they improve on. Last year they were dreadful in this department. 1 out of every 4 trips inside their opponent's 20, Stanford came away empty-handed. That's right, no touchdowns, no field goals, nothing. And remember, of the 5 losses that Stanford suffered a year ago, the Cardinal had 3 of those games lost by a 3-point margin. Think about how it would have been if they could have got 7 or at least 3 on some of those red zone trips. Again, 1 out of every 4 trips last year in the red zone, Stanford came away with nothing. That has to improve. Can't waste those opportunities. They were not even in the top 100 last year in red zone scoring. They were bad. Defensively, boy, do they have their work cut out for them. But I know what Stanford fans are thinking. Hey, we had a lot of players to replace last year, and look how well Stanford did. Well, that's true. The Cardinals last season were head and shoulders above everybody else on Pac-12 defense. Rushing, scoring, passing, and total D, Stanford was head and shoulders above the rest, ranking number 1 in those departments. And scoring D, they were one of the best in the country, sacrificing just 18 points per contest. The reason why I'm a little more concerned this time is because of the lack of starters on that defensive line and lack of depth. And they're definitely going to miss Henry Anderson, a big part of that defense from a year ago on the interior. So, defensive line-wise, you'll have Harrison Phillips and Solomon Thomas. We've seen some action in the past, and they're both seniors. So you have leadership there, along with Aziz Shitu, who they are very high on as well. And one big addition to this team will be Brendan Scarlett, who comes from, of all schools, Cal. That's right, Stanford's hated rival. The Cal transfer, Stanford hopes that this guy could really contribute. But again, defensive line is where they were so good a year ago. Big reason why Stanford last season was 5th in the country in sacks, averaging 3.5 sacks per contest. But again, that defensive line is going to be, in so many ways, new. And then if you look at the linebackers, probably the strength of the team, Blake Martinez is one of the best in the country. You have him back along with Kevin Anderson. So, looking at the secondary, there's some work to be done there. And when you miss a guy like Alex Carter and Jordan Reynolds, and Reynolds seemed like he was there forever, you know that you have some quality to replace at the corner and at the safety. Beginning at the quarters, you'll have Ronnie Harris and Terrence Alexander. And at the safety position, we'll see how Cody Whitfield and Dallas Lloyd handle the load for Stanford. But again, their play is going to be so predicated upon that front three. Remember, we'll see Stanford play a lot of that 3-4-4 alignment, 3 defensive linemen. The defensive line can mature, especially early on. Secondary should be aided by that. The special teams, last season was bad for the Cardinal. They missed several kicks, and also, too, were inconsistent in punting. And we've already documented the fact that you won't have Ty Montgomery returning kicks. So the Stanford special teams, unless something happens that we don't know about, it's not going to be their strong suit. Looking at the schedule, their opener, look, if this were an academic bowl, I'd be fired up for this game. Stanford at Northwestern, 2 extremely high institutions for learning, playing in Evanston. I think Stanford will win that game on the gridiron. Central Florida is the next game, and that's the home opener. And don't rest on the Knights because they have plenty of team speed, good offense. Georgia O'Leary's team will be ready. And by the way, first time ever, if you can believe this, that Central Florida has ever played a university from the state of California. Hard to believe. And then the conference opener, and it is a doozy, as Ned Ryerson from Groundhog Day might say. And last season, this was a low-scoring, heartbreaking loss for the Cardinal, as it was an indication of what was to come for Stanford. It was the first of 5 losses. So we'll see if Stanford has revenge on their minds when they go to the Coliseum this time. You go to Oregon State to close out September, and then October, you get another rotten break on the schedule, as from the South Division, Stanford will play the defending South champions, Arizona. But you get them at home by a week before another game against a South giant, and that's UCLA. And then you get Washington at home, and then you go to Wazoo to play the Cougars. November will feature a game at Colorado. Should win that one. And then November 14th, all eyes will be in Palo Alto at Stanford Stadium against Oregon, the defending Pac-12 champions and last year's runners-up in the college football playoff. You play Cal, second to last game in the big game. This time you play them in Palo Alto. Matter of fact, you get your last 3 games at home at Palo Alto. And then Notre Dame, who at that point could be a college football contender, and Stanford, if they exceed expectations, could be as well. And that game could have a lot of ramifications as far as the college football playoff map. Stanford, I think, will be better offensively this year because you return Hogan, you return a very good ground game, an offensive line that can play, and some receivers who I think are going to be better than we think. But defensively, I know they've done it before by replacing terrific talent and last season doing very well. But I've got major concerns about that defensive line because they lost talent there, and there's just not a lot of depth. If injuries become an issue on that defensive line, Stanford could be in a lot of trouble. I look for the Cardinal to finish second in the Pac-12 North, 8-4 overall record, and 6-3 in conference play for a second-place finish. And I think that they will have a shot at a 9-win season if they can pull off the bowl game. That's my look at Stanford.